Alright folks, just an update here on this WILDFIRE Lift. I know there's quite a few videos out there showing how to put these in. I like it so far, it works very well. I have one issue with mine. I have a drain in the middle of my shop and the floor down to it. So on three corners it's pretty flat, and the posts when I put level on them look pretty good, but this one I had is kind of right in the middle of that slope. So what I did was I bought some of these large 15/16 grade 8 bolts. I ground off each corner, I bought nuts for them. So what I'm going to do is weld these nuts to here, put another nut on, put a level on the post, and then level it out, and then use the top nut to jam to lock it down. Now this one in particular, I'm going to end up cutting off above the threads and grinding a hex into it, because when you let it down, it would hit on this. So yeah, they make kits, I'm sure, for this. I put a couple pieces of tin under it, or sheet metal rather, just so I don't mar the floor up. This floor has in-floor heat. I don't want to crack it or damage the floor in any way, so it came out pretty good. I've cycled it dozens of times now. It goes right up and down, no more air bubbles in the line. The instructions were pretty good. Don't forget these here. Tighten those down. This is for your locks. There's a tube in here. Don't forget to tighten those jam nuts down. And what was the other issue? So when you first get this ram will be pushed all the way, what was it? It was pushed all the way in. And in order to get these cables routed through to slack down on them, what I did was I took this vent off and I put compressed air to it, and it pushed this all the way out and slacked down on all my cables. To get these cables out, to get them routed, I just took the nuts off the end up there. I took the nuts off that, and I just shoved them through that corner right there, and they'll naturally kind of well, they won't really bind, but they'll just kind of pop back. So that's how I routed mine through. I got all four hanging out on all four corners, and then I went ahead and I used more compressed air and pushed this ram all the way out, all the way to the end, and then I could route the cable through underneath this pulley here, and then there's a secondary lock here. You go over the top of that one, so it's around this one and on top of that one. Go on up and then follow the instructions from there. This is an added piece here that was a supplemental in the instructions. This is to keep cable from coming off track here, so make sure you install those correctly. Other than that, I had no issues putting this together. I did have one buddy come over one night. I used my engine, a cherry picker rather, to lift these runways. These runways are super heavy. And just remember when you're putting it together to probably install this one first. This is the one that has the ram in it. You just know that where this hole is, that's always going to go to the corner front where you're going to mount your pump here like I did on mine, or back in that corner over here if you're going to mount it on that way. Then this hole needs to go to that corner. And then obviously you know that these rails here for the jacks and whatnot, they all both go to the inside. I found the instructions pretty easy to follow. There was mention when you mount this brace here that holds the pump that there's 2 washers that you would put on the leading edge. Apparently that's old instructions. They never removed them. You don't have to do that anymore. I called them and actually spoke to the rep, and he goes, oh yeah, that's just something that they used to do, but they don't do that anymore. My experience with WILDFIRE so far, they're very responsive. If you send them an email or call them and ask them a question if you're confused on something. They already registered my warranty. One other thing to note when you're putting this together, when you put this release handle on, you'll have to take this nut back off to get it all the way in and get it tight. And that's exactly what it should look like. Handle up. This forward post linkage goes to the bottom and your long linkage goes to the top. So don't get it confused. And it's the same way on the other end. You look here, it's the same way. The bottom linkage goes to the bottom, top to the top. And you just adjust these so that when you pull down on this handle to release these locks, that all 4 of them move at the same time. So I had it pretty much dead on adjusted before. I know they tell you in the instructions, lift it up and raise it, and then make sure that go around and lower the cables until the bottom of this lock is touching the bottom of the windows. I didn't have to do that because when I adjusted all of it, I did the same amount of tension on each one, and I didn't have to do anything. It raises perfectly level. The locks go in all at the same time. Yeah, pretty nice lift. They're really heavy duty. I like the design. I would suggest buying one if you're in the market for a lift, especially with the customer service. The price was pretty affordable, I thought, around was it maybe $6,400 with the tax. I think for $6,400 you're getting a pretty good lift for 9,000 pounds. These XLT are about 16 foot in length. Everything that I own I could get on here, including my 2500 Chevy. I just wanted to give you an update on the lift, and it's working good. And what my solution for a floor that isn't quite level, I'm sure more of you have shops that have this. I'm going to fire up the Vulcan here, get this welded in. I'll bring you back when I get this done and show it to you. Alright, I'm done with that. Welded that up. Welded those nuts on there. As you can see, that's the reason why I had to cut that one off and put a slot in the top so it wouldn't clear when you're all the way down. Anyway, works pretty good. It's level. Came up pretty good. Again, Pretty sweet lifts. I do plan to get the center jacks here, roller jacks that roll across those, and then you can lift the vehicle up off the ramps. So I plan to get one of those. That's what this is here. This is the, you can put a jack in there of some sort, you know, bottle jack or even maybe a floor jack. The ones they have are pneumatic, they're really nice. And then they make aluminum panels, diamond plate that go in between here that you could walk on. Those are just drip trays, plastic drip trays that come with it. That's some of the things that aren't quite clear when you are putting these together. And so if you're in the market for a vehicle lift, I would definitely look at the WILDFIRE. I'm not a company rep, I'm not a paid spokesperson, but if you've watched my videos in the past, if I like a certain tool, certain brand, I'll let you know that I like it. All my power tools are mostly Milwaukee. I do have a few Craftsman over there, decent stuff. So until next time, take care.